The typical realtor will say this to themselves: I'm going to do what Don and Amy are suggesting because I want more leads and referrals in the first quarter of next year. Nothing wrong with that. But the ninja selling concept is no, that's not about, it's about a deep down burning desire to build better relationships with people and get to know them. And the consequence of that is the leads and referrals. It's not the goal, it's the consequence. And so then we stop sending out that sort of image or that vibe of a pushy salesperson and instead send the energy of a friend or a colleague, a trusted advisor.
Today's guest has spent more than 2 decades helping agents transform their business and mindset. As a ninja selling coach, Don Tennessen is a firm believer that success in real estate isn't about selling, it's about building relationships. In this episode, we talk about authentic ways agents can grow their pipeline during the holidays, how to set goals that actually stick, and how to hit the ground running in 2026. And don't miss Rapid Fire, where Don reveals his most memorable broadcasting blunder and the one thing that people are always surprised to learn about him. Well, Don, thank you so much for joining me today on Corr Values. I am so excited for what our audience is going to hear from you, all of your wisdom. I know I've had the opportunity to learn from you for years. I will say, I think I was in your first official installation that you did for At Properties back in 2012. And I laugh because I used to stick the CDs into my car when I was driving in and out of the office to kind of, continue to absorb all of the ninja wisdom. And now, I've got a new car and I can't even stick a CD in anymore, right?
Well, Amy, it's a pleasure to be with you. And gosh, we've so enjoyed watching these podcasts over the last few months. You guys do a fantastic job.
Oh, thanks. Well, we learn from the best. And I know you and your group at Ninja have been just, I think, incredible motivation for us here at to our leadership, but also to our agents over the years. In fact, I want to start off by saying, you've been teaching Ninja for, 20 years now. Help me understand what initially drew you to this system in the first place. And then for our listeners who haven't been through Ninja before, explain to us what it is and why it makes a difference from, especially from other agent training programs. Like, what is the wow or it factor?
Okay. Well, first of all, a little bit of history there. So my wife, Mary, and I we were finishing up about 15 years in the healthcare industry, and it was time for a change. And we had purchased our first rental property about a year before that from another realtor. And we thought, well, there was too much travel involved in the healthcare industry. We were all over the U.S. and we decided, well, what could we do where we could stay at home and hang out with our kids and our grandkids? And because of that rental property thing, we thought, well, that makes a lot of sense. We're going to be buying investment property to kind of fund our retirement anyway, so why not get into real estate? And the only thing we did is we went and talked to somebody that we knew. There was a guy who was a managing broker for a real estate company called The Group. I had no idea who The Group was, had no history with Larry Kendall, who was an icon in our area. I'd never heard of him before. I didn't know anything. Went to see this guy about real estate, and he said, I think the best thing I could do is just give you a cassette tape. So you were talking about CDs. We're talking about cassette tapes. He says, this is a cassette tape. It's 50 minutes long. It's an interview that Larry Kendall did with this guy, Howard Britton, and the organization was called Star Power. And
right.
Some of the veterans watching would know what Star Power was. And he says, just listen to the cassette. I think it will answer most of your questions, because I was kind of I guess I was skeptical about getting into real estate. And so Mary and I, we were driving down to Denver to go to dinner. Shortly after that, threw the cassette into the car, listened for an hour on the way down to Denver. And I turned to my wife and I said, if this is what it takes to be successful in real estate, I'm in. Because I was thinking, well, there's a lot of cold calling and door knocking and, all this kind of stuff that I was really uncomfortable with, not in line with my personality. But Once I listened to what ninja selling was, then I said, okay, I think I can do this. And so the simple version is ninja selling is nothing more than a system. It's a system that's relationship based, that kind of goes into the philosophy that says the better quality relationships we have with people, the better the chance there is for leads and referrals. And it's that, okay, if this is about building relationships, it's not really about selling. That's what matters to us. In fact, I think one of the things that kind of differentiates ninja selling is that we actually teach people to stop selling, and the reason for that is because salespeople, they kind of have the wrong energy. We tend to move away from salespeople, and we tend to move toward friendships and trusted advisors and that sort of thing. And so, in its simplest version, ninja selling is a series of activities that will create better relationships, that will drive leads and referrals, and that's how we build a real estate business.
Yeah. I mean, that was a great summary of the program. And, what I loved about it is exactly what you had said. When I sat down, and it was probably, the first 2 hours, and I realized this is so different than how I had even always thought about real estate. And here I was as a managing broker. And I remember thinking, gosh, had I had this when I was selling, Mike and Thad may not have had me kind of in this role, because I probably, just would have had a different concept at the time. And I agree. It was really sort of eye-opening, the approach. It's so comfortable. What I love about Ninja too is that it is for any type of personality, right? Because I've had so many agents who say, I don't like to pick up the phone. And it's like, got a strategy for you. Have a way that you can approach this where you get to feel authentic, right? I think that that's the beauty of this program. And there are so many different systems. And, I think sometimes at first it's a little overwhelming, but what I say to a lot of agents who've just gone through an installation is just take one thing or two things first, get those working for you. And slowly over time, you can figure out how to layer in so many of the great things that are in these 4 days. So quick follow-up question. So that 1 hour cassette recording, what was it? Was it just kind of an overall kind of highlight of what Ninja was about? And at that moment you thought, this sounds like it would work and be compelling.
Yeah, what it was an interview that Howard Britton did with Larry Kendall about this thing called ninja selling. And Larry described it and, talked about what works and what doesn't work. And one of the things he talked about that made an impact on me right away was he said, we focus on teachable skills. He says stuff that anybody can do. And, you know them, Amy. There are people in your company, there are people that they're fantastic realtors. They're amazing. They're incredible. And they don't, but what they do isn't teachable. It's unique to them. Yeah. We have a word for those we call them freaks of nature, these people, because they do something that's incredible. It's fantastic, but it's not scalable and it's not teachable. And with Ninja, we say, okay, could everybody do this? And that's the stuff we try to focus on.
Well, that's the magic. That's where I get so excited when I have agents that come out of the 4 days where they have a new sort of vigor and excitement for the business that, you just hadn't seen prior, and where you see them sometimes struggling or feeling frustrated. It's really a gift. And, we say to so many agents, it's the best 4 days that you can give yourself in your career. So I've loved it. I've loved seeing so many of our graduates and just seeing them, in their prime now and doing so many incredible things. The growth has been phenomenal.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
When you think about it, Amy, think about what we do when we build relationships in our personal lives. We meet somebody, we get introduced to somebody. It might be a neighbor, it could be a friend of a friend, something like that. We usually sit down and have a conversation. We visit. We try to get to know them. We focus on them. We don't talk about ourselves. And we just say, well, why don't we just do that in a business environment with potential people who could either provide us with leads and referrals, or maybe they need some help. Let's just do what we do with our friends anyway. It's natural. It's not salesy. It's completely authentic. That I think is what makes this thing intriguing. And I think you're right that people naturally get attracted to something. They say, oh, I can just be myself. I don't have to be anybody else.
Yes. And what is your favorite TSW? Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, this stuff
This
works, man.
stuff works, right? Yes, it's true though. I mean, it's almost in some ways so simple, yet it really is. It's about the human component too, which I think is everybody can relate to.
Yeah, the other thing is that we always mention is put any S word in there you want to, but the concept still makes sense.
Yeah, it still works. It still works. Okay, so right now we've got, I'm hoping, a flurry of our agents who are really focusing on business planning. We just wrapped up this past October a great series of sessions from our amazing coaching and training crew. Angela and Kevin, they did a great job. But right now I feel like there are still, people are still figuring out their plans. And I wanted your take on, what do you see are some of the common traps that agents fall into as they're setting their goals for the next year? Any thoughts on that and maybe any solutions on making sure that they can see success moving into 2026?
Yeah, good question. It seems to us that one of the biggest traps is trying to do too much. That we have all these grand plans and it doesn't match up with what we typically do, might not even match up with our own personality or what we're comfortable with, but we heard it someplace or went to some, seminar or something. And, our philosophy is let's just keep it as simple as we possibly can. And I guess one of the things that we tend to focus on is what are the activities, if you boil it all down, what are the activities that we know we can do every single day that will generate the potential for leads and referrals, build relationships, create future business? Let's just focus on the activities, and then we let the transactions, the production, all that kind of take care of itself.
I love it because I think, I always would laugh at myself at the start of every year. It would be like, I'm going to go and I'm going to get a brand new binder for the start of the year. And I've got new pens and my desk is finally clean and organized. It was like getting ready for the getting ready to get to do something, right? So I do love that idea of just getting into action. And I think that, serves its purpose in business, but just in life. I've learned that sometimes when I have a paralysis about being nervous or worried about something, I tell myself, just go, just start doing it. And then everything kind of miraculously sort of falls into place or it turns out the way it's supposed to. So I love the idea about focusing on the activities and maybe not too many, right? I like the idea of layering, start with one or two things, make sure you've got them down and then add kind of that next step, right? Or that next thing to do.
One of the things that we try to remind realtors about is, you don't have to do everything.
Yeah.
Just do something and get started, And one of the things that seems to make sense to us is maybe we could ask ourselves this question as we get ready for next year. What would it take for people to start referring to me as their realtor? And Amy, I know you have like trusted advisors in your life. You probably have a doctor. You might have a financial planner. You got to have an insurance guy. You might have a pastor. You might have a mentor. Those kinds of things. And people say, well, they refer to their physician as my doctor or my financial planner. What would it take for people to start referring to you as, well, my realtor? Says this or helps me with that. When people start to think of you that way, that now we're making some progress because then what that means is when anything real estate comes up, you're the first one they think of. Yep. So how about a business plan for this year? What would it take for the people in my database to start referring to me as their realtor?
Love it. I mean, it doesn't get any more direct and simple as that. That's great word of it, but like great advice to give. I love it. So let's talk a little bit about just the idea of relationships and getting in front of people, with the holiday season coming. In fact, I talked to all of my agents about this is the season, get your party shoes on, take your extra energy drink in the morning because you say yes to everything, right? Because it's just this opportunity where people are feeling festive, people are out engaging, interacting, and even if they're not ready to think about real estate until next year, you want to make sure that you've seen them, right? So that when it is time to talk business January 5th, they've already seen you on the dance floor on December 2nd, right?
You got it. Say yes to everything. That was the first thing I wrote down related to this question. And there's a guy that I listened to forever. His name is Jim Rohn, and he was a philosopher and a motivator and an author and all that. And I always remember Jim Rohn said, "Don't miss the assembly." Don't miss the opportunities. Go to every party, go to every gathering, go to every neighborhood event, anything you're invited to, go. Invite people to your own events, because this is the time that people want to connect. They're open to it. It's a festive time of the year. Many people have sort of let their guard down in terms of some of their business activities and that sort of thing, and they're ready to just have some fun and have some interaction. And this is go time. This is the perfect opportunity. And one thing we want to remind the folks about it is this: whatever real estate business you are doing today is a function of what you did to create that business 60 to 90 days ago. And so it's not like it's the wrong question. Well, what do I need to do in January to build my business? No, it's what do I need to do in November to build my business for the first quarter? And this is a golden opportunity. The timing of us visiting is perfect for this. Let's make sure we take full advantage of this time. And our observation is this: a lot of realtors, frankly, just take a little bit too much time off through the holidays, and then they wonder why they don't get off to a slow start in the first quarter of the year. So our encouragement is get out there. Face-to-face is the way to go, and just make it happen over the next couple of months.
And just be authentic and make connections, right? I think it isn't like you have to roll up to a party too and be ready to engage and ask real estate questions, right? This is all about just connecting human to human. The more you find out about what they've got going on, I always find it amazing how real estate somehow always miraculously comes up, right? So I think that's important, is don't feel like you have to go in starting with real estate. Know your stuff if they start asking you questions, right? We've always got to know our stuff. And I also loved what you had said, which is, yes, it's the time for you to be going and, going to parties as you get invited to things. But I also say to agents, make this a time where you're the one who is doing the inviting. And it doesn't have to be a huge party where you're spending thousands. You can just do a nice little dinner party, grab dinner with 4 or 5 people, right? I mean, the connection doesn't have to be this huge, monstrous thing, but it's just taking the time to be the one that creates the connection instead of always waiting for it. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And, kind of related to that is this idea of intention. And there's a kind of a subtle thing going on here, but I think it's really important. And that is this topic we're talking about today, and getting out there and being visible and having conversations and building relationship. And so the typical realtor will say this to themselves: I'm going to do what Don and Amy are suggesting because I want more leads and referrals in the first quarter of next year. Nothing wrong with that. But the ninja selling concept is that's not about, it's about a deep down burning desire to build better relationships with people and get to know them. And the consequence of that is the leads and referrals. It's not the goal, it's the consequence. And so then we stop sending out that sort of image or that vibe of a pushy salesperson and instead send the energy of a friend or a colleague, a trusted advisor.
Yeah, I love it. I always say focus on the give and you'll get.
There you go. There you go.
Focus on how you can create value to somebody, create a better connection, build a friendship. It just comes back to you. So, get yourself out of the scenario, focus on them, and it will come back. The consequence, right? I love the word. The consequence will be, you will be greatly and hugely successful.
I love that.
All right, so let's talk about, okay, we are getting into the holidays, so it is go out there, face to face and creating these connections. I love all of that. But let's also talk about the fact that after a holiday break and as we get into the new year, sometimes it can be tough to get back into the swing of things. Even if it is officially, January 1st, sometimes it's hard to kind of get that momentum. Any thoughts that you have? I know you talk about just doing the activities, but is there anything you think that can help motivate, kind of that initial push?
Yeah, it seems to me like what we're talking about there is, what if we had a plan? What if we had a structure for our day that would kind of help us get into it? So one of the things that we typically recommend is this idea of, first of all, a morning routine. Some things that we can do that create the right energy. We have sort of a 5-step morning routine. And what we find on that is, particularly after we could have the same conversation about, you take a 2-week vacation, you go on a cruise, or you go to Europe for 10 or 12 days. And it's like, how do I re-enter, my real estate business? Not just for the first of the year, but anytime. It's like, okay, if I can get back into my regular routine, it seems like that's the way to get back into it. And we have a morning routine that focuses on this idea of creating the right energy, an energy that will, human beings have an energy or a vibe that we put out. And it's either an energy that will attract people, or it's an energy that pushes people away. And so a good routine first thing in the morning creates the right energy. It's an energy of gratitude, of thankfulness. It's an energy of focusing on abundance, not scarcity. I think that's the thing that gets us back into the swing of things. And I would recommend too that after the holidays, maybe try to schedule some things that allows us to continue that face-to-face and voice-to-voice thing, so that the idea that other people can energize us. We're not, sitting in a home office, or we're not, in our car someplace where we're isolated, worried about, what's going to happen next year. Activity is a great antidote to fear, and fear will tend to paralyze us. So if we can just get out there and invite people to lunch and have some coffees and do those kind of early in the year, I think it gets us off to a good start.
I love that. I always say to people, sometimes the scariest place to be is in here by myself when no one else around.
No
right?
kidding. Absolutely.
That's where I'm like, I got to call somebody, or I need to find someone. Yes. And I also think that the reality too is, just whenever you do have to re-enter, you just got to face the fact that the first step of re-entering is sometimes hard. It's kind of like whenever I have to re-enter getting back into working out or eating right, like it's not always easy, but then once you do it, you kind of, it gets easier every step of the way. We just have to remember the first step is sometimes the most difficult, right?
No question. One other thing before we leave the holidays is this, I was thinking, last night about this question, and the idea, what if we could do some stuff during this holiday season that really personalizes things for people that we know? So how about one example? There are still people out there who send out Christmas cards and all of that. And, I've had plenty of realtors who say, I got my 500 Christmas cards out for the year. And I say, well, let me take a look at one. And it's, it's kind of a traditional Christmas card. And maybe you sign it, or it's already signed. And what if we did this? Instead of sending out 500 Christmas cards to everyone in your database, what if we sent out 50 to our very best people? And you had a message in there, handwritten message of some kind that was just for them. And we took the time, to say something meaningful about how much we appreciate their friendship, or their the way they've helped us build our business, or, whatever it is that. Maybe that could be a little bit more impactful than the quantity of sending out those 500 cards that has no particular meaning at all. I know one thing I'm going to do this year for my friends is try to personalize gifts. So one example is this: for all my golfing friends out there, what they're going to get from me this year, they're going to get golf balls, but they're going to be personalized golf balls that have their initials on them, or their name, or their company logo, not mine, their company logo, and something that they know we took the time to just think about them, rather than just running out to the store and finding something that's just easy.
Yeah, I love that. It's like the quality and just taking the time to, just take those extra steps. I love that because I do think that everyone's always just rushing to get through sometimes, right? Get through the holidays. So I want to get your opinion on something that has been a very hot topic here at. I think it's a big hot topic, not just in our industry, but across all industries. And that is the topic of AI and how that is starting to emerge in the industry. So I want Don's take on AI. What is it going to do for our industry? How should agents embrace it or not? But really, ultimately, what is your take on where our industry is going and what AI is going to do for it?
Well, that is the question of the hour, and we think it's absolutely going to be. It's going to be life changing. Our world's going to change. The way we take in information is going to change. We think the potential is absolutely unlimited. And Amy, could I take you back? For kind of an old guy in this industry, here's what we don't want to do. We don't want to get in denial. That's the fad. That's for the techies. I'll take you back to. When Mary and I started our real estate careers in 1999, and we got in on the tail end of the transition that the real estate industry was having from the old MLS books to having the MSL information online.
Yeah.
And there were some people in our company who were fighting that like crazy. Today we think, oh my gosh, how could they use a book to keep track of listings that were updated, every week or 10 days? It's unfathomable that could have ever worked. But there were people who fought that, and there were actually successful realtors who were thinking, this online thing's eventually going to go away. We're going to go back to those books one of these days, and everything's going to be, the way it used to be. So we don't want to be that, all right? And yet at the same time, let's talk about what people actually want. Let's focus on the buyers and sellers, not ourselves. And this doesn't come from me. This comes from my buddy and CEO Rob Nelson. And here's what Rob says: he says, instead of artificial intelligence, what if we focused on another kind of AI? How about actual intelligence? How about the idea that we can focus on our people, identify change in their lives, and just have the actual intelligence to understand that change is what drives most real estate transactions? And could we do that and pay attention to what people actually want and need? And I think we'll be just fine. By the same token, we also think that AI is going to do some things that will actually help us to have better relationships, because maybe the best use of AI is some stuff you and I talked about earlier this week, and that is do some stuff that would help us get some tasks done faster or more quickly, that would allow us to have more time to spend building relationships and hanging out with the people who can help us build our business. So, maybe rather than spending 20 hours a month writing the next newsletter, maybe that AI component to help us write that newsletter in a few minutes, rather than a few days. Maybe the AI can help us identify updates, statistics, and trends in our industry. Maybe we don't have to do the research ourselves, but we can be the smartest person in the room because we know, what's happening by using that resource. But we like the idea of actual intelligence, not just the artificial kind.
I love it. I love actual intelligence. And I agree. I think agents should really actually get excited about what AI is allowing them to do, because it's freeing up their time for the stuff that matters most, right? So if you can systematize or shortcut the 10 hours to writing that newsletter, still have your take on it, be able to provide some of your specific insight, but using technology as a way to get you there faster, it frees you up for, I think, the most valuable part of our business that quite often I think agents couldn't spend enough time on because they were bogged down in all of these systems and processes. So I think it's a very exciting thing for our business, and I think we should, really be looking to embrace it moving forward.
Here's the other piece of it, Amy, that I think is really important, and that is the real estate industry has spent literally billions of dollars on technology over the last 20 years or so, and we think it's all fantastic. It's all really amazing stuff. But when you look at it, and we ask, because we travel and we go to real estate companies all over North America, and I always ask the question, well, tell me what's happening with technology, what's happening with your back office stuff, what's happening with your CRM, what's going on with that? And then we usually ask the question, we say, hey, Mr. Managing Broker, Mr. Owner of a big real estate company, what percentage of realtors are actually using your CRM and have an online database? And they will usually kind of hem and haw. And then they'll say something like this, well, probably 15, 20%, something like that. And so one of the things we have to remember is all the technology and the AI thing is absolutely phenomenal. But then we have to honestly ask ourselves the question, what percentage of realtors are actually going to engage and use it? And I'm not sure that's something that's going to be a percentage that will be significant over time.
Well, it's interesting that you segue into that, because this last question I have for you before we get into some fun stuff is about the real estate brokerage and leadership. When it comes to agents and their full potential. You've worked with a lot of agents, but you've also aligned with a lot of real estate firms. And is there a difference? Is being aligned with the right brokerage firm, are you seeing that it makes, we think so, of course, but are you seeing that makes a big difference in an agent's full ability or potential or their road to success?
Amy, it makes an incredible difference. And this is not what I think. This is what I'm hoping for our industry over the next 5 to 10 years. Is I hope that what will happen is there's a realization that the most important thing that a realtor should look for in a company is not the technology stack, is not the split, is not what the company provides in terms of help and assistance, but what will that company provide in terms of leadership that will help that realtor improve their real estate business. And here's what I've observed over the last few years of significant travel to lots of real estate companies. Here's what I've found. Every real estate company I've gone to has great realtors. Every one of them. What they don't all have is great leadership. And I think that's the difference. And my suggestion would be, when realtors are thinking about a company, well, what's the company I could go to that would give me the best potential for success? What I'd say is, why don't we start interviewing these companies about their leadership? And you and I have both we've seen situations where maybe a company has, let's just say a company has 20 offices and they've got 20 managing brokers, sales directors, whatever you want to call them. Usually one or two of those offices stand out above the rest. Well, why do they stand out? Well, they got lucky. They've got great leadership. That's the deal. And we've seen the opposite. We've seen great leaders, managing brokers. We've seen them retire, and pretty soon that office retreats back, to sort of a normal type of place. So my thought, my suggestion, my hope, my prayer for our industry is that there's a recognition that leadership is what makes the difference.
Wow, I love that. And I think for us leaders, when we are leading and helping to cultivate our agents, we also have to take the same concept and the ninja principles, right? Because it is about us developing relationships, making sure we are focusing on our people as individuals. So a lot of what we are sharing and the philosophies we are asking agents to think about quite truly are a lot that we talk about, I know, for ourselves as leaders in our own organization. So I love that. That's a great tip for everyone who's listening. All right, so Don, we are moving to something a little bit fun. I hope you're ready for this.
I'm ready.
Rapid fire round. Fast facts with Don. All right, so we're going to start with our first one. You were a sports broadcaster in college. Yeah. What was your most memorable on-air slip up?
Well, too many to mention, but the one that really stands out to me actually never turned out to be on air because I worked my way through college, working at a local radio station, broadcasting high school and college football, basketball, baseball games, and one time I was assigned to do a basketball game at a local high school, and so I went to that high school. It just turned out I went to the wrong high school. I thought the home team turned out to be the away team. The gym was dark. There was nobody there. I missed the entire broadcast because I went to the wrong school.
Oh, no.
And that was an embarrassing moment. And I promised myself I'd never let that happen again. And at that time, my dad, who ran the radio station, genius of a man, I think one of the few times he was really, really upset because we missed the entire broadcast because I went to the wrong place.
Oh, no. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, not good.
That's a good one. That's a good one. All right. But I also know that you are an avid golfer. So I'm going to ask you, if you could play a round of golf with anyone in the world, living or not, who would it be?
Okay, great question. So here's what I think about. I think about the top golfers in the world today. You know, guys like Scotty Scheffler, Roy McIlroy. Historically, you know, Tiger Woods, seen as the best golfer of all time. I got thinking, would I want to play a round of golf with them? I thought, no. Here's what I want to do. I would like to play a round of golf with their caddies.
Oh,
These are the guys who spend time with them because the caddies have all the stories. They got all the dirt. They've got all the stuff that happens behind the scenes that nobody knows about. And I'd want to spend those 18 holes just having those guys tell me stories about how these iconic, incredible golfers do what they do. That'd be a life-changing event. That'd be fun.
I love it. They know the real dirt.
That's it.
They know what's happening when the cameras aren't rolling, right?
You got it.
Oh, I love it. All right, here's another one. What's a series or a podcast or a book that you've enjoyed recently?
Okay, so timely question. So my wife and I got a referral to this just the other day. It's a series on Apple TV that we'd never heard of before, and it's called The Reluctant Traveler. And the guy who put this together, he's an actor, he's a comedian. His name is Eugene Levy. And he wears those funny glasses, you know, and Schitt's Creek, he was on, you know, the guy's amazing. And he's not a traveler. He's a homebody. He's afraid of heights. He doesn't like airplanes. He doesn't like water. He doesn't particularly like to be around other people. And he created this series of travel shows where he goes and he butts up against all of his biggest fears. He's absolutely hilarious. It's fantastic. It's nothing like any kind of typical travel show. It's absolutely, and we've watched the first season. I think there's 3 seasons. We'd recommend it to anybody. If you like travel at all and you want a good laugh, that's the one. That's our favorite right now.
I love it. The Reluctant Traveler.
That's it. Yep.
Okay. Oh my gosh, I'm putting it on my list. That sounds great. All right, I want to know this one. What's your pump up song before teaching a big ninja installation?
Okay, that's an easy one. The Eye of the Tiger.
Oh, yes, that's a good one. All right, and the last question. What's something people might be surprised to learn about you?
Oh, well, I get some feedback on this, but I think maybe it's this, that, you know, we spend our time traveling now. We do these ninja programs, and we're in front of a lot of people. We do stuff like this. I think maybe what people don't know is that at heart, I'm a big time introvert.
Oh my gosh, I was waiting for you to say that. I feel like sometimes I'm so surprised by people who, you know, are out and always in front of people and can engage. But, you know, I think even people are surprised that sometimes, I think there's an introvert in all of us, right? When you're on all of the time, the ability to just hang and not be on all of the time, right?
Yeah, I think my explanation of this is sometimes God just plays tricks on us and puts us in positions that you wouldn't think, they would never be comfortable with that, public speaking or, you know, doing all this stuff. And that's it. So my wife, she gives me lots of grace because she's a talker. I don't have to talk at home. She understands that. It's absolutely fantastic. And we all just get to be who we are.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Well, Don, this has been so much fun having you on my podcast, Corr Values. We learned more about you because we always know the ninja side of Don Tennessen when he's on any of our teaching or trainings or when we see him at installation. So I'm so glad we got a deeper glimpse into the real Don Tennessen. So I thank you for your time. I hope you have an amazing holiday season with your family, and I'm looking forward to all the things we're going to be doing with Ninja in 2026. And to everybody else out there, thank you so much for tuning in. Don was amazing.